Hi, my name's Jill Donaldson-Hodges and I'm the overall coordinator for all the village volunteers for Sheriff Hutton, West Lilling, Stittenham and Cornborough. We have, at the height of the pandemic, we had over 85 volunteers. Got about 65 now, but 85 at the beginning. And it was an idea that was set up by the village market people, the parish council, uh, both churches and the village stores in order to support the people of those villages through the pandemic. So it was quite simple to start with, really. The basic aim was to collect or do shopping for people who were isolated, who were vulnerable, didn't want to go out, pick up their medication. And we're also very conscious of the loneliness that people might experience during the pandemic, if they couldn't go out. So we had phone volunteers as well. And there's always been a huge community spirit in Sheriff and the surrounding areas. So there was lots to build on already, lots of existing networks. But I think the pandemic really helped us to enhance that and to grow that community spirit. And I think it's been really, really helpful. And even if we haven't known what to do or how to do something, we've got really good contacts with Rydale and North Yorkshire, and we could phone people there, say, can you help? Could you do this? And that help has been invaluable, if it was something outside of our remit. So, and I think the community spirit that we've got is stronger than ever now. And I think because we weren't able to travel or to go places or make unnecessary journeys, people have focused more on the village. They've come more inward looking around the village. So through the volunteers, you sort of meet people that you perhaps might have heard their name, but you can put names to faces now. And it's been a really good experience. People have bought local, they've shopped at the village shop, found more networks locally. So not only has it benefited the people that it was set up to benefit, but I think there's been a lot of friendships growing up out of it as well, and that'll continue past, hopefully, when the pandemic ends. When I talk about people buying local, for example, there's Willow Farm produce that had a thriving business anyway, but they've got a really good delivery service now, so you can still buy off the stall, but every week an email comes out saying what there is you can order. And not only do they deliver in the village, but in Strensall and York as well, and that's sort of really grown. We have the highwaymen, we have Cornbys, and what they've been able to do is, obviously they can't open, so they've been developed a takeaway service, so you can order your food, pick it up at a certain time. At the highwayman, for example, you have an allotted time slot, and it's very safe. You go and pick it up, and it's all sort of health and safety and COVID and so on. So that's been really good. People have felt safe doing that. It's kept them in touch with the business and enabled the pub still to have business. Cornbys are the same. They do special offers as well, takeaway menus there that you can order. The village stores and post office has been superb. They've stayed open obviously all the way through, and people have been getting their shopping from there as opposed to some supermarket shopping. But they've also done home deliveries over and above the call of duty, really, just to make sure that those people who can't come out or are worried about coming out can still have their shopping. And then we've had the village market people. Obviously the village market hasn't been able to happen, but we've been trying to encourage people who would have gone to the village market to still buy from those suppliers to keep their businesses going. I think we've been very keen to make sure that we do support local businesses, because there's no point at the end of the pandemic if a business goes under and thinking, oh, that's a shame, if we haven't actually supported them. So people have really gone all out to support those businesses still. And then other sort of not businesses, but other things have developed, like the bus stop lending library, where people have given books, and it's all very forensic. They have to be cleaned and sanitized and everything. And people on their daily exercise can walk past the bus stop, put a book back or collect a book. And again, it's an opportunity to touch base with people, have a natter, talk to people on your walks and so on. There's been a lot of home baking going on up at Hull Farm. It's been really good because people need treats during these times, and that's why I think a treat from Cornbys or a treat from Sally at at home farm, it's something to look forward to, and it is a way of just touching base with people and having that social contact. It's amazing how many people you just see on your daily exercise, or some people who can't get out for that. When they have a home delivery, again, it's social contact for them. So so that's been really good. This is our village stores, and it's run by Claire and Barry, and they've just been amazing during the pandemic. I mean, lots of people shopped here anyway before, but during the pandemic, when people don't want to go to supermarkets or they don't want to travel, the village stores has just been brilliant. It sells grocery products, it sells vegetables, it sells fruit, milk, dairy products, cheese, pies, all sorts of things, cakes. So people can come here and really stock up. And I think that's been absolutely invaluable, as we've been told not to make unnecessary journeys. To have a local facility like this has been brilliant. And I think, Barry and Claire have gone over and above the call of duty, as it were. People that haven't been able to come out, because not only have they been isolating, they've been shielding. Barry and Claire will pack up a delivery box for them and take it round to them, well after the shop has closed for the evening. And that sort of service, it's worth its weight in gold at a time like this. And again, it's keeping that contact. Somebody who's shielding hasn't seen anybody else, so just being able to say hello, thank you so much, again, I think is really important.
This was something that after the announcement of the first lockdown, the village volunteers came together really quickly, and it was mooted that should we have a pop-up library, because obviously the main mobile library service was going to be halted. And very, very quickly there was a resounding yes please. And not only that, there was the offer of books as well, which is obviously the crucial bit, otherwise we wouldn't have a pop-up library at all. And starting from the very beginning, we managed to get it up and running within a couple of weeks of that first lockdown, and it's been going ever since. We never stopped, even after that first lockdown was lifted, and all through the summer months it's still here, so it's proving to be a need. So interestingly, like everything else to do with COVID, it really has had a massive impact, and that includes this pop-up library as well. So with this, any books that are submitted to be used, they can't be touched for 2 days, so they have to go into storage, not touched. They then have to be wiped down, and then they're allowed to dry, obviously popped into plastic bags, and then they're stored in here. So first of all, you do need it's helpful to have a pool of people that are willing to take ownership of it, and then you can put the feelers out to see if the demand is there, as we did, and then from there actually talk to your council. They're really helpful, and they do have guidelines around this about what to do with the books, as I mentioned earlier, about cleaning them, wiping them down, not sort of doing anything with them for a couple of days, and the way that you handle them and distribute them. And we also had, as a big thank you to people like the council, the local parish council. They gave us permission to use the bus stop here to pop them in. So there's various elements to it, but it's all possible.
Before the pandemic, you can see the seating area outside, and packed with people, lots of tables, chairs, and indoors as well. And it was a real village place to meet, to have a chat, to catch up on people, to watch the world go by. It was a really good focus. And then during the pandemic, of course, the meals and things had to stop, and you couldn't congregate in the same way. So what Lou, the owner, has done is she's offered a takeaway service. So you can still get your coffees, you can still get pies, cakes, sandwiches, you can get meals for a weekend that all you have to do is reheat. It's kept the business going, but it's also kept our contact with Cornbys as well. And when we all queue for our takeaway collections on a Friday and Saturday, we're all socially distanced, we're all wearing masks, but you can still catch up with people, and that's been really, really valuable. And whilst we so appreciate what Cornbys has done to keep things going, we're really looking forward to being able to sit outside again with our coffee and a lovely bit of cake, and it will just be brilliant to sit here on a sunny morning and just watch the world.
In March 2020, there was an immediate impact on the request for assistance from the food banks nationally, of which Rydale was one. And the Church of St Helen and the Holy Cross decided to choose the food bank for its Easter offering. And John and Laura Oakley very kindly agreed to have the box outside their home because they're church members. And you know, it didn't end after the Easter offering, did it? No. It just carried on throughout the year. And John and Laura very kindly store all the items. But in November 2020, when we went into the second lockdown, the Norton warehouse closed temporarily because they were actually at 100% capacity, but there was still a need elsewhere in the district. So I contacted Pickering Food Share, who also accept donations. So then in December 2020, the Norton warehouse reopened, but because they've only got a small shop front, they couldn't adhere to the social distancing, so they now deliver packages to Norton and Malton. So what started as just a small carrier bag of items from our ladies group meetings, now, and that was once a month, now that can be up to 6 or 7 large boxes of non-perishable household items and food donations. And it's all really down to the tremendous generosity of the village. It's just completely taken off.
What the owners have done is they've actually kept a lot of services going as best they're able to. Obviously you can't play pool or go to the really popular Thursday evening quiz, but what they've been able to do is provide home cooked meals, fish and chips, burgers, other sorts of things that you can buy and take away. So you can order them just simply by phoning up, and then everybody's given an individual time slot, so it's only you there. You collect them and then you can come away and eat it at home. So it's been really good to have that offer still there, and it's meant that the pub is still in business, albeit on a lower level.
I have a bed and breakfast, whole farm bed and breakfast, and the dairy self-catering cottage, but unfortunately I had to close, so I always do a fundraising event in the village every year, which was also cancelled, so I just wanted to do my bit and help the community. I went and got their newspapers every morning. I went to the supermarket, got their supermarket shopping, and also I baked every week, which I put a list out of things I was baking every week. People ordered, and all the profits went to Alzheimer's Research UK. The people in Sheriff very much liked the baking. I haven't very many old and vulnerable people up here, although the few that I do have did want newspapers every day, and and I did get their shopping, so, but it wasn't anything major. So I'm really happy, I'm happy to help whenever I can, when I've got the time. Of course, when the B&B's open and the holiday cottage, I'm running around like a headless chicken, but no, I'm always happy to help.
It's expanded over the last few years to be a really flourishing business. So out the back there's various greenhouses, there's a sister farm at Butterwick near Malton, and the business is just thriving. And during the pandemic it was so good to know that there was a local business that would deliver all sorts of vegetables, things you see here, eggs, juices, you can have kindling, potatoes, a whole range of things. And then there's plants as well during the spring and summer. And then during the pandemic there was a really good delivery service, so not just to Sheriff but to Strensall and to York as well. People locally have really felt inspired to buy locally and support local businesses, and Willow Farms certainly has a very loyal and increasing following. Their seasonal veg boxes in particular are very popular. It's so convenient, and for some of the older people in the village, to know that deliveries can be made and left on their front doorstep, or friendly tap on the door is just brilliant. So I think people will carry on using them. you know, a number of times people have said went and delivered and it was a friendly way, it was a quick conversation, masks, socially distanced, all of that. But it was just it's a break in people's day. They may not have been out for ages.
Yes, so my business anyway is to provide and deliver pet food within this area. But since the pandemic started, I decided that as well as delivering pet food, I needed to look at a little bit more that I could do, not only for my business, but what would help people too. So aside from the pet food, I decided to go into the wild bird element. So the seed and the feeders, etc., which I deliver around the village to customers. And on the back of that, I thought, well, not that it's business orientated, but it's a bit of fun for people to do a bit of a bird count. So I've asked the villagers to report back at the end of each month what birds they've seen in the garden, so that we can have a look at what interest there is. And it's just something for the old and the young alike, and just 10 minutes out of your day, or you can spend hours watching if you want. So that was not for my business, but maybe a little bit of fun. Well, my business wasn't developed just because of the COVID period. That was developed 4 years ago. So for me, really, with regards to delivery, there hasn't been much change, because the business is what it is, and it's delivering and supply and demand. But thinking a little bit out of the box and what more could be done with the bird food and the other things was a little bit about customer feedback. I had quite a few people asking for bird food, and thought no, because the shop and other suppliers sell small bags of seed and feed, so I thought I didn't want to tread on their toes. But then I thought, we'll go big and sell in large quantities, sell the feeders, the other things that people don't. So it's all about making sure that we work as a community, not stepping on each other's toes, and respecting other people's business. Village market, yeah, another big passion of mine. So that's been going for a couple of years, but obviously we had a market last March, and since then, very sadly, not been able to hold any more. However, the committee are all in conversation, and we're hoping that maybe back end of this year, the latter quarter, we might be able to run something, but that's all based on our committee and how happy people are. But what we are doing is keeping in touch with stallholders, getting their feedback. At the beginning of lockdown last year, we did a leaflet, and we featured the small businesses, the stallholders on there, and that leaflet was then distributed around the village so that people in the community could order their produce from the suppliers, who would then deliver. We've got an excellent coordinator, Jill, who's pulled together a pool of volunteers, and I dread to think what percentage of the volunteers, what percentage of the villagers, are volunteers. It'll be high, because there's so many people that have wanted to help, and many of those have potentially been in a position where maybe they shouldn't be because of their age, but they've wanted to, and you obviously can't turn those people away. So it's really quite overwhelming, the amount of people that have wanted to help and that have helped. So it's been brilliant. We've got a really great community spirit.
I would just like to mention, as well as all the shops and the suppliers, I would just like to mention a very kind lady called Lexi, who also has her own business. And right at the beginning of the pandemic, she volunteered to make free, every village volunteer, so that was all 85 of us, one of these masks. So they're brilliant, and they different sizes so they can fit, and that's the one that I had for Remembrance Day. So she has her own business and a website, and it's really good that her business was actually really able to flourish in a different way, helping people through the pandemic. It's rather nice to wear a bespoke mask as opposed to like a blue one that you get off the internet, so that's good. So finally, just to sort of sum everything up, Sheriff and the surrounding villages, so that's Lilling, Stittenham, Cornborough, already had a very strong community spirit. So during the pandemic and through the village volunteers and everything else that you've heard about, we've really built on that spirit and really all come together, looking after each other in the village, making sure everybody's okay, not just with regard to shopping and medicines and things like that, but making sure that people are phoned up, or you have a chat with them, or you go out of your way to check that they're okay. So I think everybody in those villages has really come together and proved what a fantastic community we have. So although the pandemic has not been easy, I think there have really been some strengths and some positives in it, and I think the community spirit and looking out for each other has certainly been one of them.